My name is Dennis Reap, and I am the elected town moderator. On behalf of all elected and appointed officials of the town, welcome and thank you for coming to this fall town meeting. I hereby call the October 14th, 2025 fall town meeting of the town of Boxborough to order. At this moment, I'll turn it over to Bob Stemple, who will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Bob?
If everyone please stand if they're able to. Remove your caps as well. Face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
I always want to say amen. Thank you, Bob. All right, good evening, everyone. We have a number of people up front here involved with the business of town meeting tonight. The person to the left of me is Town Clerk Rebecca Harris. Person to the right of me is Town Council Joe Fair. Sitting further to my right is our Town Administrator Michael Johns. Sitting at the table to your left, my right, is the Boxborough Select Board. Chair Kristen Hilberg, please introduce yourself and the rest of your committee, please, or board.
I can figure out how to turn the mic on. Welcome, everybody. We're super happy to see you here tonight. We have a lot to get done. I'm Kristen Hilberg. I'm your current chair of the Board of Select Board. Board of Select Board. What am I? I'm that.
And I'm Bob Stemple, and I'm clerk of the Select Board.
Priya Sundaram, a member of the Select Board.
Sam Anderson, member of the Select Board.
Okay, sitting at the table to your right is the Finance Committee. Before I ask the Finance Committee to introduce themselves, I want to inform you, sadly, that our long-serving FinCom member and my friend, Keshava Srivastava, died suddenly this past weekend. Our thoughts and prayers go out to Keshava's friends and family, which includes some of you that are here tonight. May Keshava's service to his community and love of democracy in action serve as a lasting legacy and an inspiration to all of us here this evening. Tony, please introduce yourself and the rest of FinCom, please.
Tony Newton, I'm chair of the FinCom.
John Connor, vice chair of FinCom.
Joe Stolpen, FinCom.
Maria Nealand.
John Grevin, FinCom member.
Michelle Ryan, FinCom member.
All right, thank you, Finance Committee. Down front, we have Assistant Town Administrator Rajon Hudson, Administrative Assistant Kelly Price, running the projector so we can see the motions and presentations up on the screen. We also have Town Planner Alec Wade here tonight, along with members of volunteer boards and committees on hand to speak to some of the motions. At the front tables here, we also have the Planning Board over here to your right, and the Fire Station Building Committee over here to your left. This meeting tonight is being broadcast live and also being recorded for on-demand viewing on BXB-TV, Littleton Community Television. Thank you to LCTV's Executive Director Mark Crory, LCTV's Video Program Coordinators Judy Reed and Nicholas Casaletto, BXB-TV Media Technician David Astolfi, and Photographer Production Assistant Diane Douglas. And on behalf of everyone here, I also want to extend our thanks to all those town employees that helped prepare for this meeting, as well as the host staff here at the Boxborough Regency. So some quick announcements. Non-voters over the age of 18 need to sit in the back of the hall in the area marked off on the side to the right facing the stage. Fall town meeting will run for 2 nights, starting here tonight and continuing here tomorrow, Wednesday, the 15th at 7 p.m. We will take up articles in the numerical order printed in the warrant, with the exception of Article 5. Article 5 will be the first item of business starting tomorrow night, Wednesday, the 15th at 7 p.m., regardless of where we leave off tonight. So, our process for tonight. The agenda for this meeting is the warrant. Everything we discuss at this meeting is contained in the warrant. So this isn't a public hearing or forum for random matters of interest, and we will not be discussing anything that's not already identified in the warrant. Boxborough Town Meeting is the legislature for the town. We collectively approve changes to bylaws, determine land use, and other matters that may be included in the warrant. The warrant includes summaries and recommendations on each article. My job as moderator is to be the presiding officer of each article of the meeting, of this legislature, I should say. Boxborough Town Meeting process is guided by Town Meeting Time, a handbook of parliamentary law prepared by the Massachusetts Moderators Association. My job as moderator is to make sure the town meeting is fair. We have a set of rules and everybody follows them. It's open. Everybody who wishes to speak has an opportunity to do so. It's also civil. Everyone listens respectfully. One part of being civil is that there's no cheering or booing during discussion of articles. And comments must be relevant. All discussions, motions, amendments must be within the scope of the article and the motion on that article that's on the floor. We typically refer to this as the four corners of the article or motion, consistent with these requirements that voters must be notified in advance for items to be discussed at the town meeting by way of that warrant. So please be aware that we vote on motions which might be slightly different from the wording of the articles that are printed in the warrant. And those motions will be displayed on the screen. Starting on page 26 of the warrant, you will find the town meeting guide with helpful information and some of the most common motions listed. You were also given a one-page handout, Boxborough Town Meeting process, as you walked in. So 4 key points there. To be recognized to speak, you need to be at one of the 3 microphones. Speakers must state their name and address for the record and are limited to 3 minutes. We run a clock for all to see up here on the screen. And all that discussion must be relevant to the motions on the floor. I will call for a vote when I see no one standing at a microphone. If someone wants to end debate before that, they need to come to a microphone and say, "I move the question," and we will vote on stopping debate. Sponsors of articles can't move the question, and you cannot go to the mic, make a comment, and then immediately move the question either. I may call for votes to be made by simple voice, yea or nay, or most commonly I'm going to do a show of hands. This is where you use your green cards. And if necessary, we'll do a standing count. Again, you need to have your green card. So you received that card when you signed in. So anything other than a voice vote, we're going to need to have that card. And if we do that count, you'll need to show it. So to be clear, under town bylaw, I have the ability to declare a majority or a 2/3 vote using the voice vote or a show of hands. If I do so and 7 of you think I was in error, please say so immediately, and we will immediately go to a standing count to do the count that way. And along the way, if anyone has a question on process, you can stand in place at any time and say point of order in a loud voice or get yourself to a mic and direct your question to me. Except for that point of order, you must be at a microphone to ask a question, make a comment, or a motion to move the question. We will have 3 microphones tonight, and I will be recognizing people to speak in an alternating fashion. I will refer to these as the microphone on my right, your left, or the microphone in the middle, or the microphone on my left or your right. For the articles to be discussed tonight, we have designated 2 microphones as the yes and no microphones for voters expressing for and against comments, as we have done on occasion for articles of great interest in the past. We also have a new microphone tonight, or at least new to me, a questions-only microphone here in the middle. It's intended for voters to pose a direct question without expressing a yes or no opinion. Please use that question mic as intended for direct questions only. No rhetorical questions intended to make a point. If you want to make a point or a motion of any kind, use the yes-no mics. If you have a question as part of making a point in favor or against, use the yes-no mics. And since there are no statements from the questions mic, the time limit for questions will be approximately 30 seconds or so, whatever seems reasonable for a thoughtful question, and only 1 question per person per trip to the mic, with the exception you may have a follow-up if directly related to the initial question or to request clarification of the answer to the initial question. So please note the chairs along the aisles directly behind each mic that are intended for people waiting in line at the microphones. Please leave these seats open for folks lining up to speak. Let's see, the configuration is, okay, I've got yes to my right, your left, and no to my left, your right. And please remember, keep the discussion civil and disagree without being disagreeable. Foxborough has a long tradition of civility at town meeting. Let's continue that tradition here tonight. Before we get started with motions on articles in the warrant, we need to establish some rules specific to this town meeting by way of some procedural motions. With that, I'll turn to Chair Hilberg.
Mr. Moderator, I move that any adjourned session of the October 14th, 2025 Fall Town Meeting be held on Wednesday, October 15th, 2025 in the Boxborough Regency starting at 7 p.m. and further that no debate will begin on any new article after 10 p.m.
Moved and seconded. Discussion, seeing no one at a microphone. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say nay. That motion carries by the majority required. Kristen?
Mr. Moderator, I move that once final action has been taken on an article and the next order of business has been taken up, or the session of the Fall Town Meeting has been adjourned, the article may not be again considered at that Fall Town Meeting unless the moderator determines in his discretion that reconsideration would be in the best interest of the voters.
Moved and seconded. Seeing no one at a microphone, all in favor, raise your green cards. Cards down, all opposed, raise your green cards. That passes by majority. Okay, that concludes the procedural motions. Before I ask for a motion on Article 1, I want to take a moment to inform everyone of the process involved. It's likely we will hear two proposed amendments to the motion on Article 1. And Rajon, do we have that graphic? Oh, okay, here we go. Thank you. For example, looking at the flow chart on the screen, we will start with a main motion on Article 1. If the discussion on Article 1 includes a motion and a second to that motion to amend it, called Amendment 1 in this flow chart, we pause discussion on the main motion and discuss and then vote on the amendment. If Amendment 1 passes, we then proceed to discuss and vote on the motion on the article as amended, following the blue path on the left side of the chart. If the amendment fails, we then resume discussion on the motion on the original article, following the green path on the right side of the chart. If the ensuing discussion includes a motion for another amendment, called Amendment 2 in the flow chart, we pause discussion on the current motion again and proceed to discuss and vote on Amendment 2. And similar to the first time around, if that Amendment 2 passes, we then proceed to discuss and vote on the motion on the article as amended by Amendment 2, following the light orange path through that chart. If Amendment 2 fails, we then resume discussion on whichever version prevailed after the Amendment 1 vote, either the green path for the motion in the original article or the blue path for the motion on Article 1 as amended per Amendment 1. To complicate things a little more, please be aware that an amendment requires only a simple majority to pass, 50% or better, 50+%. And it is only an interim step before voting on the main motion. The vote on the main motion, regardless of which version advances through the amendment process, requires a supermajority of 2/3 to pass. So if the vote passes by 2/3 at the end, the town will have approved some version of a zoning amendment under Article 1. If the vote fails, and it only takes 1/3 of the voters here, to vote no for it to fail, nothing happens and the current zoning bylaw remains unchanged. So with that explanation of how this is going to roll forward here, I want to remind you, if you have a question about process or any process along the way, you don't need to be at a microphone. You may interrupt and shout out point of order, and I'll immediately recognize you, and I will answer the process question. We can put this chart back up along the way to remind ourselves of where we are if needed. So before I ask the chair of the planning board for a motion under Article 1, are there any point of order process questions from anywhere on the floor about how Article 1 and the possible amendments will be handled? Yes, you can go to the microphone, please.
In this town meeting process handout, it says that Boxborough's practice is not to allow amendments to amendments, but this flow chart is an amendment to an amendment.
I don't think that's the intent of what's written there. An amendment to an amendment would be an amendment to amend the amendment that's under discussion, is my interpretation. In this case, the amendments are being handled individually, one at a time. So, yes, amendments are confusing, and I think that rule is intended to limit the confusion. Very good question, thank you. All right. Planning board, is it Mr. White? Do you have a motion? All right, we're going to do a little mic swapping between the select board and podium here tonight, so bear with us when this needs to happen.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming. I move that the town vote to amend Article 4, Section 4.1.3C, Utility and Public Service Uses, and Article 9, Section 9.2, Terms Defined of the Town of Boxborough zoning bylaw, as set forth in the October 14th, 2025 town meeting warrant.
Moved and seconded. Report and recommendation and presentation, Mr. White.
Okay. Let me get this. Okay. Hear me? Okay. So thank you for coming. We have a lot to do tonight, so I'm going to make this as brief as I can. We had initially decided that Rich Gazzardi was going to be doing tonight's presentation, but unfortunately Rich could not make it due to a work commitment, so I'm going to be doing his presentation for the majority opinion of the planning board. What you see on the slide here is our current bylaw. This is what our bylaw is today. I hope you people on the left can see, because I didn't realize we're going to have two screens and I don't have two pointers. But right here, it says educational, governmental, or religious use, yes, in all columns. Then it gives a definition below that includes the word governmental in it. But because of a flaw in the way that's structured, that's why we're here. Since 1995, it's read the way that you see it. And hopefully you can all read it from your seats because you don't have a copy of it in your warrant. The Select Board made the decision that rather than rely on the plain words of the zoning table and the definition, and feeling the intent was clear but the wording was flawed, they submitted a revised version for ATM last May. Article 1 was defeated for lack of a two-thirds majority, 223 no and 205 yes. Next slide. So how do we get here? How do we get this article before you tonight? In June, the planning board was tasked by town leadership to revisit the article, to pare the article down to only public safety uses and remove the intensive uses. Public hearings were scheduled on 10/4, 10/11, 10/18. We had approximately 100 participants, attendees, speakers, and 17 letters. The planning board didn't want to hold those hearings over the summer so as to get the best participation. The majority of the board worked to retain ag-res while adding more protections by narrowing the scope of potential uses and closely defining what the term public safety includes, which definition is now printed in your warrant under 9.2 terms defined. So it's right there. That's what we've added. That definition is a lot narrower than the blanket term municipal uses, which was the problem. Whoops. That slide's gone, which was the problem in our current bylaw. Municipal uses had many uses, and some people argued that it could be a sewage treatment plant. Can't be that now. Under the way this is written, the only thing that's allowed is public services, and that's defined also in your warrant for you to read. Additionally, if you look at footnote 26, we added that any must be owned and operated by the town. And additionally, a site plan approval process was also added as yet another requirement. Hearings were concluded on the 18th with a split vote of the board to move forward with the current article in your warrant, 3 in favor, 2 against, which we, and I'm going to qualify we to be the majority of the planning board here, and if I use the word elsewhere, we means the majority. We feel 3-2 to be an accurate representation of what was heard from the public in the hearings and the community at large. And that's you, our constituency, because we're elected officials. Next slide. So this here is our current zoning. Everything you see in yellow, that's zoned residential, ag-res. There's a small little dot right over here. That's residential 1, res 1. So basically we're talking about agricultural residential zoning. 75% of the zone is zoned ag-res. And you should understand that the current town hall, town barn, museum, fire station, school, and library are all located in what's currently the ag-res district. And just to clarify before we talk about zoning, we are not looking to select or propose any one site for a public safety facility here tonight. This is not about any one site. This is about the zoning that enables the location of a site. We're only here to discuss where we could put one. The decisions of where and how much will be made by the Select Board, Fire Station Building Committee, Finance Committee, and other necessary boards and committees. If this article passes in its current form, then we would be allowed to consider all properties within the town. If it fails or is modified to exclude residential, then we can only consider what's left. That's this slide. So now, you take away all residential, that's all in gray. What's left is in the blue. That's what's left. What's left is also problematic because we have other restricted things. So this next slide removes from the blue yet more, and that's due to conservation land, wetlands, public water supplies, and their buffers. So now that we've removed what we can't use for a public safety facility, we can look at what's left, but what about the sites we just won't be likely or either want to, or be able to use? If you look in the upper left-hand corner, whoops, now I'm trying with the wrong pointer. Up in here, that's Cisco Properties. Cisco Properties is under development, and it's in the far corner of the town. It's not a very good location, so I doubt we're ever going to use that. If you look down here at Swanson Road, that's pretty well developed at this point, and also in the far corner of town. If you look down here, which is on Swanson Road, that's all stone up against the west side and fully developed on the east side. So that whole strip of town, you can take that off the map, even though technically you could do something there, but we'll never do anything there, is our guess. If you look over here, 1400 Mass Ave, that's privately owned. That's part of it's being litigated right now. It's not unlikely that they're going to give us a fire station there, although there was a possibility up front, but it was a question of what would we give them. And that's another discussion. Across the street, that there is Paddock Estates. So we're not going to build there. And then you come down here, this is Town Center. That's Enclave. Can't build there. Right here is, what's it called? I always forget it. Say it. Boxborough Meadows. Thank you very much. Boxborough Meadows. Not going to build there. Up here, this whole corner of town at the end of right here, at the end of Hill Road, that's landlocked out back. And this is what we're talking about, MBTA communities tonight, so I don't think we're going to put a fire station there. We're not going to put a fire station over here in the corner by Acton, and we're not going to put one down where the skating rink is. So what's left? What's left is this narrow strip of land right here. And right now, that narrow strip of land is pretty much built out. There's only a couple of places left. And so part of the argument here is when you take it all away, there's not plenty of places to put a fire station, okay? So, different approach. Of 20 towns, in the course of our research prior to and part of the hearings, we investigated how other towns were handling the same issue. We looked first at our next door neighbors, and we found that all of them in this map allow protective services in all zones. Some are by right, many have an additional layer of site plan review, which we've included with ours, and a few added yet another layer requiring a special permit process. None completely disallow. We actually kept looking. Of 20 towns surveyed, and again, all these towns are kind of close to us, so we didn't go all over Massachusetts. All of these towns surveyed allow public safety in residential zones, 15 by right and 5 by special permit. Is there a town that does not allow protective safety in residential? Probably. We didn't find any close to us, but the trend is clearly evident. Okay, why? What's clear is that if Boxborough were to disallow residential zoning for public safety uses, then we'd be pretty much alone amongst our peers. We believe that it's for good reason. No town wants to be hemmed in when it comes to public safety. So we've added the process of site plan review. What is it? There's a lot here on the screen. I don't really expect you to be able to read it all, but it's a pretty thorough process. Under the current wording of this article, any potential public safety facility would be subject to site plan review. That review would be conducted by the planning board. That's what we do. We do those hearings. Site plan review is a robust and exhaustive process of public hearings and deliberations, and is a process established by our local bylaws, rules, and regulation that allow the planning board to review and regulate the design, layout, and developmental impacts of by right land uses. As you can see from the slide, it pretty much touches on most, if not all, of the aspects of a project that would be of concern to abutters, neighbors, or concerned citizens. In the bottom of it, one of the key words is mitigation. Mitigation of adverse impacts. Mitigation means we first, with the help of the public, define the potential impacts and then work to find conditions to limit or eliminate those impacts. That's what we do. We, the planning board, do a really good job of this, and some say even too good of a job. But to be clear, site plan review is meant to be a shaping process. It's not a blocking process. Site plan review is, in the end, meant to be a shall issue process. So there's that. In the end, we're supposed to issue a permit after we've considered all the circumstances and issued conditions. Some of the towns we just looked at have opted to add the additional layer of a special permit process, which is ultimately a may issue process, but that's not what's currently under discussion here. This article does not include site plan review at this point. So, I'm done. In closing, I would like to repeat that the majority opinion is that it's not the board's job to propose or determine the suitability of any one site for a proposed project until it comes before us for a hearing, and then we're gonna hear it, and you're gonna have your opportunity to weigh in on it. And if you need protections, you'll get them. And I'd have one next to my house. I can't say that because I'm majority. I'll say that later. Knowing that there's going to be an ample opportunity for public input at every step. We've tried to do that in the most transparent and objective way possible. We've all of these people in the room sitting in front of you have worked diligently to bring you the facts, not conjecture, so that this body can make an informed vote tonight to move us forward and we're asking you to please vote yes on this article as it's written.
Okay, do we have the minority opinion of the planning board? Ms. Werner, please.
The minority of the planning board does not recommend this article as written. We recommend against allowing public safety facilities by right in the agricultural and residential AR and R1 districts. While we recognize and support the current need for a new fire station and future public safety facilities, we believe such facilities should be permitted by right only in town business, commercial, and industrial zoning districts, or where such facilities already exist. Public safety facilities should be disallowed in the AR and R1 zoning districts. Public safety buildings are inherently commercial and industrial in nature, often featuring large garages for multiple vehicles, including diesel trucks. They generate noise, traffic, lighting issues, and potentially contaminated wastewater, all of which require very careful management. These impacts make such facilities unsuitable for residential neighborhoods. Zoning exists to protect communities from unintended consequences. There are no facilities currently allowed by right in Boxborough's use regulations that are of an industrial or commercial nature in our AR or R1 zoning districts. This is by design to protect our residents. Fortunately, there is ample commercially and industrial zoned land available that is centrally located in town, appropriate for future public safety facility development, and buffered from residents. Numerous sites have already been identified that meet the Fire Station Building Committee's stated needs that are outside of the AR and R1 zoning districts. Out of the 13 properties that have been proposed by the Fire Station Committee, 11 of them were in non-residentially zoned districts, and the other one was the existing fire station location, which is a pre-existing non-conforming use. So those are all in the AR and R1 districts. So subjecting all of the residentially zoned property in town to possibly a public safety building seems unnecessary. The only other property that is not in those zones is the 72 Stowe Road. So that's in a residential district. Everything else is considered as recommended by the Fire Station Committee. The presentation that was provided to you this evening mentioned site plan review. While site plan review can shape a project, it can't deny a project if the decision criteria of a site plan approval, if they're all met. So while the planning board can try to mitigate impacts on placing conditions, by placing conditions on a project, we know that from past practice it's not always very easy to do. And we're not able to always limit things like traffic on side streets, speed limits on state highways. We can't require any traffic lights. So enforcement can be very difficult. So with that, thank you for hearing us. We encourage you to vote no on this Article 1 as written, or to go ahead and amend it to disallow public safety uses in residential districts AR and R1. Thank you.
Recommendation from the Finance Committee.
The Finance Committee recommends 7-0. A yes vote for this article will allow the greatest flexibility for the town to build the most efficient and cost-effective public safety buildings. It should be noted that approval of this article does not mean automatic approval for a public safety building anywhere in town. The residents will have multiple opportunities to vote for any public safety project through town meeting votes and potential ballot questions for any debt exclusion. In addition, all projects would go through a rigorous site plan approval by the Planning Board.
Recommendation from the Fire Station Building Committee.
The Fire Station Building Committee recommends unanimously 6-0. A new firehouse is urgently needed to meet the community's growing safety and service demands, and this article provides the necessary flexibility to identify the most suitable and cost-effective site. Restricting zoning would limit available options and could drive up land costs as property owners may seek higher prices knowing our choices are constrained. Chair Werner was correct that the Fire Station Building Committee, the current committee and previous committees, have looked at nearly 20 sites. And most of them are not in the ag-res zone. But currently we are down to 4 sites, and 2 sit in the agricultural residential zone and 2 in the business, I think it's business or industrial zone. So if we did not pass this tonight as written, we would either still have no zoning, or if it is amended, we would only have 2 sites left to look at. Importantly, I'm sorry. So as we've heard over, if you've been listening to the conversation in town, escalation costs for construction run 4 to 5% annually. If we do not come out with a zoning for public safety buildings tonight, we will only increase the costs of the project with nothing in return by the time we bring this back to another town meeting. To this point, I just can't emphasize enough, we really need zoning tonight to move the firehouse building project forward. Please support the article as put forward. Thank you.
Recommendation from the Select Board, majority recommendation.
The Select Board recommends 4-1-0, the majority opinion. The Select Board strongly recommends permitting public safety facilities by right in all zoning districts, subject to site plan review. Public safety is one of the town's most fundamental responsibilities, protecting the health, safety, and the well-being of every resident. Allowing these facilities in any zoning district gives the town much-needed flexibility and negotiating power when identifying potential sites. This flexibility is essential to securing the optimal location at the lowest possible cost to taxpayers. With state funding reductions, the town nearing its levy limit, and the increasing financial demands of our school budget, the ability to negotiate cost-effective solutions has never been more important. It's worth remembering that Boxborough's search for a suitable fire station site has been ongoing for over 15 years. Yes, more than 15 years, through the efforts of multiple boards and committees. The need for a new fire station has now become urgent. We no longer have the luxury of delay. Adopting this article will finally enable the Fire Station Building Committee to identify and secure a viable site once and for all. Importantly, the proposed zoning is consistent with the bylaws already adopted in our neighboring towns. This amendment simply brings Boxborough into alignment with the regional best practices. And even with this change, the town retains full control and oversight. Any selected site must still go before voters for approval at 4 key stages: land purchase, design funding, construction funding, and debt exclusion. Each phase requires a town vote. You all decide, ensuring that the residents maintain the ultimate authority. Additionally, all projects must comply with existing local and state regulations governing noise, lighting, wastewater, and environmental impact. In summary, approving this article promotes public safety, fiscal responsibility, and long-term planning. It enables faster emergency response, smarter site selection, and more prudent use of taxpayer dollars. Supporting this zoning amendment is not just practical, it is essential to Boxborough's future.
Minority opinion of the Select Board?
So I'm sure you noticed Wes Folks wasn't able to join us tonight. He's on a business trip, so I'll be reading his recommendation. The minority of the Select Board does not recommend this article. I, Wes Folks, fully support the Planning Board's minority opinion and agree that public safety facilities should not be allowed by right in agricultural and residential zones. If this article were amended to show N instead of Y in the zoning table for both AR and R1 districts, I would support it without hesitation. And again, that's from Wes.
Okay, done with recommendations. It's on to questions or comments from the floor. Microphone to my left, please.
Thank you. Robin Lazaro, 959 Hill Road. Mr. Moderator, I move to amend the motion under Article 1 to replace the letter Y under both the AR and R1 columns in Table 4.1.3C with the letter N.
It's been moved and seconded. Okay, so this means we're going to debate the proposed amendment to the motion on Article 1, not the original motion. So with the exception of Ms. Lazaro, for those of you in line at the yes-no mics for yes-no statements, please reconsider which microphone you're at right now based on your opinion of Amendment 1 or the motion on Amendment 1 that you just heard. And I think most of you figured that out in advance coming in the room. So, Rajan, is the motion up there on the screen for all to see? All right. So as the mover, Ms. Lazaro, you have 3 minutes to explain the rationale for the amendment to the voters here tonight.
Thank you. Mr. Moderator and fellow Boxborough citizens, all of us here today recognize the need for a new fire station without further delay to protect our community. All of us here today support public safety for ourselves, for our children, and for our grandchildren. By supporting this amendment to Article 1, we can come together as a community without hesitation, without doubt, without fear, with confidence that we will move forward with an appropriate and cost-effective site. A vote for this amendment is a vote for public safety. Article 1, as proposed without this amendment, allows public safety facilities by right in all zoning districts, including all residential neighborhoods. The question in front of us is not whether the new fire station should be at 72 Stowe Road. The question in front of us is whether public safety buildings should be allowed by right in the Ag Res and R1 residential districts in Boxborough. The amendment to Article 1 limits public safety facilities by right only to the town's business, commercial, and industrial zoning districts, or where such facilities already exist. The impact of situating a public safety building in a residential neighborhood makes such a building unsuitable for residential neighborhoods. Residents are understandably concerned. A vote to amend Article 1 to change the yes to no in the table so public safety facilities are not allowed in residential districts would protect our neighbors, but still allow a fire station to be built at another location where it will be more suitable. The article, as written, turns off many residents. Voting for this amendment will unite residents around a new fire station and will better the chance of getting Article 1 passed. We believe this amendment is the best way to deliver a fire station as quickly as possible. Please compromise by voting yes on this amendment so that we have the best chance to deliver a yes on Article 1. Thank you.
Okay, recommendation on the amendment from the Planning Board.
Mr. Moderator, earlier this evening, the Planning Board voted 3-2 not to recommend the amendment.
Thank you. Recommendation on the amendment from the Finance Committee.
The Finance Committee does not recommend 0 to 6. A yes vote for this amendment will take away the town's flexibility to design and build a public safety building in the most fiscally responsible and cost-effective manner.
Recommendations on the amendment from the Fire Station Building Committee, please.
The Fire Station Building Committee does not recommend 0 to 6. By placing an N in Ag Res or residential, it restricts the town's options to locate a new firehouse. At this time, we are seriously considering 4 sites, but 2 sites, including one that is likely to be the lowest cost option, are located in the Ag Res residential districts. We also believe it would affect the town's ability to negotiate a lower cost at the other 2 sites on Mass Ave under consideration. For these reasons, the Fire Station Building Committee unanimously does not recommend.
Recommendation on the amendment from the Select Board.
The Select Board unanimously does not support this amendment. Doing so will remove the flexibility which is essential in securing an optimal location, and also reduces the negotiating ability, which will increase the cost to the taxpayers.
Okay, we'll go to the floor next. Last time at the floor, we had a yes in favor of the amendment. We'll start with the no's. Name and address, please.
Yep. John Nealon, 201 Picnic Street. I do not support this amendment. It is just too restrictive. The planning board we have has worked their tail off. The people that tune into them, and quite a few have, it's till 11, 12 o'clock at night, going through all the detail they can possibly come up with, and in the end, the majority recommended the article as written. I think you just have to trust the process. You know, if something adds up in ag res, the planning board is not going to roll over and say, build a 60,000 square foot building and mow down everything. They're going to have 200 conditions put in place to try and protect the neighborhoods, make sure it looks good, and is financially viable. So I do not recommend this, and I hope we will shoot that down.
Yes, microphone to my right, please. Name and address.
Mark Barbadoro, 627 Old Harvard Road. The fire station building committees in their various iterations, I think for about 15 years or more, have considered every site in town. They did that because they always previously believed that they could build a fire station anywhere in Boxborough, at least so I'm told by many of the people up at the podiums here. I think after 15 years of searching and narrowing the search down to about 4 sites, all of which are sort of up and down 111 except 72 Still Road, which is just off 111, and all of the sites except 72 Stowe Road could be built if we change the zoning to disallow in the ag-res and R1 districts. So what you would be left with is all of your selections except 72 Stowe Road. While that might be problematic for the board, there is always a possibility. Attorney Fair told us at the very last town meeting that you could change, do a map amendment for that one zone for the right reasons. And previous discussions that I've had online with people is there's a reminder that it used to be in a commercial zone, and it was changed by itself, one parcel of land, and no one had a problem with it when that was done. So my recommendation is knowing how people feel from the last town meeting, looking around the room tonight, and knowing how I feel, I have a strong sense that if we don't amend this article, those people who are going to vote yes to amend it will vote no for the article. And at that point, you'll be back to square one. If people who disagree hold their nose and vote for the amendment, then there's a better chance that the overall article will pass, and then you can utilize all the properties except 72 Stowe Road, and if you really feel you cannot get by without it, bring a map amendment and we can have a straight up conversation about 72 Stowe Road, undiluted with these sort of general zoning changes for an entire district. So for the sake of the article, I'd say vote yes for public safety on this amendment. Thank you.
All right, I'll try the questions, Mike. First time ever. Name and address, please.
Becky Neville, Middle Road. I'm more confused now than I was when I sat here. I had a question, and now it seems to have gone out the window. Because I was under the impression that if we take ag-res out, we couldn't possibly use the existing fire station location because it's zoned ag-res. So I want to understand what the process is for putting a fire station there and who would actually get to make that decision. Like, is it go to the fire station building committee to say, oh yeah, we just want to have it there because it was always there? Does it go to the planning board? I wonder who's making the decision if it gets to go there, because I don't understand, because it is zoned ag res. Do you understand my question, Dennis? You're
Yeah,
looking
I
at me
do.
like I'm
And
crazy.
I'll
Okay.
look to Alec Wade, our town planner, to try to answer that for you.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. The speaker originally was alluding to a special permit process. So in the case that the fire station is a pre-existing non-conforming use, there's a case to be made that if the fire station building committee pursued that site further, they could file for a continuation of a pre-existing non-conforming use.
And who would make that decision?
The Zoning Board of Appeals.
Okay, so then it would be, can I just ask, it would just be the 5 members of the Zoning Board of Appeals that would get to make that decision and not the Fire Station Building Committee or anybody else, right? It would be the 5 people who sit there, who are appointed, that aren't elected. That's who gets to make the decision?
The Zoning Board of Appeals, the 5 members of, would make the decision during a public hearing.
Okay, but can they change, like, scope and footprint and everything without, like, in their decision?
There are firm decision criteria that the Zoning Board of Appeals would be restricted to. However, they would have the ability and the right to reasonably condition a project in their opinion.
Okay, I think I've done more than one follow-up, so thank you.
That was plenty. Thank you, Becky. Microphone to my left. Name and address, please.
Dick Wagman, 86 Leonard Road. Listening to all the discussion up to this point and listening to the argument in favor of this amendment, it strikes me that what it really is doing is suggesting that you really don't trust all these committees that we have, the fire station committee, the finance committee, the planning board, to protect us from something that would be awful and ridiculous, or in really damaging the local residents. Doing this gives us considerably more flexibility and will save us a ton of money. If we pass this amendment, the likelihood is that the net result is considerably higher taxes for basically no payoff at all. And I don't know. I mean, that doesn't please me to have my taxes go up for no particular reason. I think I'm inclined to trust our planning board, our finance committee, and folks like this to take care of us from a proposal which would really damage the local area or something like that. And as we saw in the presentation of the original article, there really isn't much to go with if we eliminate all the residential stuff. I think we need to leave that area open, let them make their decision in some reasonable way, and then we can dicker about ultimately whether they've done an adequate job of protecting the people around the site. But saying absolutely no, those boards can't do their job to protect the local things, to me, makes no sense. I trust our planning board. I trust our FinCom. I trust our selectmen. I am going to oppose this article, this amendment. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Okay, yes, microphone to my right. Name and address, please.
Richard Hilton, 394 Littlefield Road. We love where we live, and that's why all of us are here tonight. We are being asked to vote on a zoning article about public safety facilities in all zoning districts. We are all affected by zoning, but we tend to think and talk about it in abstract ways. We make statements like, quote, other towns have it like that, or, quote, we'll only have 25% of the land available for those buildings, or we need options, otherwise we'll pay more for land. All hypothetical arguments until it gets real. It's real for our neighbors on Stowe Road right now who might have to deal with a fire station a few yards from their back doors. But then we make more statements that rationalize that situation. Quote, it's the best and cheapest place. Or, don't worry, we'll mitigate the problems by putting up more trees. Or, fire stations are modern and clean now. or many calls are going to the neighbors anyway, so they'll benefit. Really? I mean, the fact is, it's in their backyard, not ours, not until it is. Who can guarantee that those same arguments might be made in the future by your distant neighbors for a public safety building in your neighborhood? That's when the issue is no longer abstract. It's visceral. Some people in this room may be fine with a fire station next to them, but I ask you all to examine your own feelings about this issue. If you would not be willing to have a public safety building in your neighborhood, on your street, next to your house, then I ask you to vote yes on this amendment and remove residential property from Article 1. Zoning is not hypothetical. It directly affects our quality of life and the quiet enjoyment of our homes and property. After all, doesn't every resident of Boxborough have the right to continue to say, I love where I live? Thank you.
We'll go to the questions. Mike in the middle. Name and address, please.
Cheryl Mahoney, 188 Liberty Square Road. Mr. Moderator, I hope this is an appropriate question for the amendment, and I'm going to preface that. It seems that the supporters of this amendment seem to be relying significantly on the planning board's minority opinion in forming their position and putting forth this amendment. I would like to know, at the bottom of page 9, within the planning board's minority opinion, there are statements to the effect of the detrimental impact of placing this within an ag zone. I would like if possible, Mr. Moderator, if the minority presenters could provide us with that empirical data that they relied upon in order to make those statements.
Ms. Werner, you prepared to answer a question?
I believe we said noise, light.
Traffic.
What else do we have?
Thank you. Multiple vehicles, diesel trucks, all of those, I would say, are 100% applicable.
Yeah, I believe you also referenced groundwater contamination. Can you provide us with the data on that?
We were asked not to make a presentation here.
Okay, so...
I mean, it's a hypothetical.
Yeah, you don't need to answer that.
So it's anecdotal then? It's not actually based on an actual analysis?
You can read the minority opinion for what it is.
Okay, thank you.
Question to my left, please. Name and address.
Thank you. Channing Wag, 384 Hill Road. I'm sorry to say, I think we've put the cart in front of the horse. Heard a lot about selected or anticipated sites, changing the zoning, so on and so forth, but there's one thing we haven't done, and that is to decide where the optimum location for the equipment should be. I haven't heard of any analysis or study that would tell us where the best place is for speedy deployment of the equipment and the right equipment to the location where it's needed in the town when and if the time comes. I've heard someone speak to the fact that we can't do anything on the west side of 495. We have garden apartments over there with 3 stories. We don't want to put a ladder truck over there or anything like that. We have a lot of wooded area in the town. Where should we put the pumpers? Has this been looked at? And I don't think it has, because I haven't heard a thing about it. We've argued about where the building should go. We've talked about the zoning. We've talked about this, and we've talked about that. If we're going to spend $30 million, which we're going to spend some fair amount of money, which, by the way, is going to impact our lower-income residents, unfortunately. And full disclosure, I've been on the housing board for 20 years. I think we really need to think it through. And yes, it's frustrating. Yes, a lot of people have done a lot of hard work on this. We're all invested in getting a decision. But if we're going to spend that kind of money, let's get it right. Where should the equipment go? Should it go in one place, 2 places, 3 places? We don't know yet. But until we do, I don't think we should be doing anything other than trying to determine that. Thank you.
Okay, and just a point of order for everybody. There are a lot of empty seats in the front, 1, 2, 3 rows, if anyone in the back would like to be more comfortable up here. And I do believe there's a few extra chairs floating around, but getting to be a pretty full house back there. So if you want to move up, you can do so at any time. Let's see, back to the microphone to my right. Name and address, please.
John Markowitz, 71 Patch Hill Road. There's been a lot of discussion here. I think everyone in this room supports public safety. I'm pretty sure I'm right with that. I'm pretty sure that probably 90 to 95% of the people in this room support the need for a fire station. Those are not really the questions that we have on the table here. That's not the debate. There's lots of other debates. But right now what we're talking about is zoning. The issue that I have with the current, with Article 1 and why I support the amendment is because it allows us to change, it's asking us to change to allow safety, public safety facilities in ag-res by right, okay? And it doesn't just talk about fire stations and police. It talks about, it talks about emergency medical services or emergency management. I'm wondering if someone can define what that is, since we're asking to include that. And please stop the clock while I'm waiting for an answer.
That sounds like a direct question, Alec, or Fire Chief Kivlin. Are you prepared to answer?
Yes, so it's a good question. So obviously, emergency medical is our ambulance, which is our firefighters. Our firefighters are dual trained as firefighters and EMTs, so they staff the engines and the ambulances.
Okay.
So we do not have separate EMS quarters because we do not have a separate EMS department. As far as emergency management goes, emergency management falls under the fire chief. I am the emergency management director. So that would be your EOC, your Emergency Operations Center. Anywhere that we're conducting emergency management preparedness for the community, whether it's the Emergency Operations Center or anything else that would fall under EM.
Okay, Chief, do you anticipate facilities necessary for that?
I don't have my crystal ball, Mr. Markowitz. I can't tell you what the future will bring.
Right.
There are places that have gone in that direction. It is a trend that emergency management has, in some places, become a third agency that has separate quarters and separate buildings.
Right.
So I don't see a need for it at this time within Boxborough, but I can't tell you what the future would bring.
I don't expect you to do that. I don't expect anyone to do that. I mean, one of the things that's being discussed that would be allowed in other countries, they're looking at air ambulances to get people to facilities that need it quickly. That's a possibility for us here in Boxborough in the future, because once we change this zoning is not only for 50 years, this zoning is permanent unless we come back to town meeting and do another 2/3 votes to change it, which is why I don't think we need to make the change for all of ag-res at this time. We have 4 sites that we're looking at for fire station. 3 of those are on Mass Ave. 3 of those can be used without changing zoning. The zoning is really only changed for the 4th site, which is Stowe Road. My concern about pursuing Stowe Road is it meets with a lot of resistance, and it may delay us from actually finally getting a fire station that our fire personnel need today. We can't keep them in that building too much longer. They need better facilities to live in, and I'm sure the chief and everyone here will agree with me. So my concern is that by focusing energies on Stowe Road, we may actually be delaying the process, which will cost us more because every day, as we're told, it costs us $4,000 a day for every day that we delay getting to a fire station. Okay, that's approximately $1.5 million a year. We can't keep going after sites that may not pass. That's why I would ask you and urge you to support this amendment. Thank you.
Okay, back to the question mics in the center. Name and address, please.
Bill Donovan, 99 Stowe Road.
Can I ask you to speak up or aim the mic a little better?
Excuse me, Bill Donovan, 99 Stowe Road. Which microphone do I use? Which microphone do I use to make a...
Yeah, can we just maybe... Yeah, thank you very much. There we go.
Yes.
All right, name and address. Let's start again.
Okay. Bill Donovan, 99 Stowe Road. And which microphone do I use to move a motion or move a motion?
No motions from the question mics. You can get in line at a yes or no mic to make a motion. I believe I
Do you mean
made that
move
clear
the
earlier.
question?
But you can ask a question,
But
but if you want to move the question, you
Mr.
need to go on a
Moderator?
yes or no mic.
he may mean to move the question.
Yeah, if you want to move the question, make that motion.
Okay.
You need to be in line at one of the other two mics. The questions is just for direct questions, no motions from the questions mic.
How about parliamentary procedure motions?
No motions from the question mic. You
Okay.
can be in line at the yes or no mics.
All right.
All right, back to the microphone on my left, please. Name and address.
Hi, good evening. Kristen O'Neill, 408 Mass Ave. Like many, I'm sure, I first read the article voted on at Springtown meeting with some amount of trepidation. I can see how it was considered broad and gave some pause. Following its narrow defeat, I invested time this summer to following the planning board meetings. I watched the board thoughtfully take in community feedback and narrow the scope to what was presented initially this evening, a deliberate and considered article that balances feedback with the best interests of all in our community. This amendment doesn't further refine the article, it backs us as a collective into a corner. I don't believe this amendment is the best choice for our town, for all in our town, if indeed our guiding principles are safety, fiscal responsibility, and site viability. A more flexible zoning plan would not rubber stamp a huge public safety building wherever a select few decide it should go. There are plenty of other hoops to jump through along the way, and we've heard much of that. All of these would require, or most of these would require, other public votes. This amendment prematurely limits our ability as a town to make a community-centered and fiscally responsible decision. I live in AgRes, where I raise 2 children, grow fruits and veggies, 10 chickens, greet neighbors on daily walks with our dog, work remotely, and enjoy a peaceful backyard, all 2 doors down from the fire station. I'm here to say, sure, in my backyard, if that's what's best for all in the town. But I'm not sure we can say that with certainty without exploring all the options as the Fire Station Building Committee hopes to do. I hope that we as a town can zoom out and focus on our common goal of improved public safety for all, residents and fire station staff included, and garner some flexibility to help us get there in the most effective way possible. This amendment only further impedes meaningful and thoughtful progress in that direction.
Microphone to my right, please. Name and address.
Mary Nedworski, 70 Stonehenge Place. I move the question.
It's been moved and seconded that to move the question, which means it's just that we will stop debate now and vote on this motion to amend. So it's not debatable. It takes 2/3 of us to vote yes to stop debate, which means we'll stop debate and then go to the vote. So all those in favor of stopping debate now on the motion to amend, raise your green cards. Cards down. All those opposed, raise your green cards. That passes by the 2/3 required. Okay, we are now moving on to a vote on the motion to amend. This only requires a majority because it's an amendment. All those in favor of the amendment that's still on the screen, all in favor of the amendment, not the original motion, raise your green cards. Cards down. All those opposed to the amendment, raise your green cards. I'm going to take a standing count just to be sure, and I know a lot of people are interested in getting the count right. So the standing count will involve you standing in place, holding your green cards where the tellers can see them. When I ask you to stand, I want you to stand still, stay in your place. No moving around at this point. If you've got a seat, grab it. If you're a teller, you can be up moving around. All those in favor of the amendment, you can stand up with your green card visible to the tellers and remain standing. That was a demonstration. Okay, yes, folks, you may sit down. Thank you for your patience. All those voting no to this amendment, please stand with your green cards visible to be counted. Everybody stay in place, no moving around except for our tellers. Okay, folks, you may take a seat. Thank you for your patience. We'll have the numbers in a minute. Okay. Those in favor of the amendment voting yes were 128. The no votes were 264. That motion fails. The margin was 67%. Okay, we're back to the article as moved originally without the amendment. Discussion from the floor on the original amendment. Original motion on the article, and is it back on the screen, Rajan, for everyone to see? We're back to the all yes categories as moved originally. We'll go to those in favor. We'll start with the yes microphone in favor of the amendment, the article as originally motioned.
Am I allowed to just make comments now? I got lost.
Do you have a question? Point of order?
I have a motion. I want to move the question.
Moving the question, in my opinion, is premature. I haven't heard a single people speak to the original article yet. So,
Mr. Moderator?
Is there? Well, you were at the mic, and I'm not seeing anybody at the mic, so we will go right to a vote. There's a question. I'll name and address, please. Yeah.
Leah Tarasi, 291 Liberty Square Road. Mr. Moderator, are you aware of any research or data that has been presented locally or regionally that links public safety facilities to environmental contamination or declines in property value?
No, I do not.
Is anyone else on the panel aware?
Does our town planner have any ability to answer that type of question? And
I attempted to look up studies or other bodies of research that would help answer a question such as this tonight, and I found none in my advanced research.
Okay. So we've talked in generalities, but no data or research has been looked at. Okay. Can I ask a follow-up question?
One follow-up.
Okay. Fire Chief Kevlin, could you please speak to the noise and light pollution that might be presented in a modern fire station?
All right. Well, the question needs to go through me. But,
sorry.
But if anyone can answer that question objectively, I'll allow it. Otherwise, if possible.
Thank you for your question, Mr. Moderator. Through you, as far as noise goes, a lot of people will be concerned about the siren use, and the siren use has come up repeatedly. Again, if there is no traffic on the road in front of us, the sirens are not going to be utilized. That's just the way we operate. There's no need to turn them on if there's nobody in front of you. As far as light pollution or anything like that goes, I believe that the town has a bylaw as far as how lights will be at the fire station. I believe they all have to be facing downward. And this would all go through our site plan. This would have to go through the planning board to be approved prior. So I really would assume that that is going to be well regulated before it's enacted and put into use.
Thank you very much.
Microphone to my right, please. Name and address.
Cheryl Mahoney, 188 Liberty Square Road. We're all here tonight because we love this community. It's just we have differing opinions on how to demonstrate that. Hopefully, we will be here to discuss, debate, and learn something new. I'm here to vote yes on this article tonight, as it was written in the warrant. For the past 2.5 years, there's been a lot of research, analysis, and data crunching in an effort to develop a safe and appropriate fire station facility for our community. The Fire Station Building Committee has a multi-page FAQ that they've published on their website in an effort to be transparent as possible and respond to residents' concerns and questions. The article that addressed this in May failed by just 18 votes. The Building Committee's recommendation earlier this year was to address the omission in the zoning bylaw, as Mr. White detailed, the inability to place a fire station facility in our community. I'm here to speak to my personal experience for the people that are concerned about placing this in a residential area. I have raised 2 young children right next door to a fire station. Never once did the operations of that station wake up my children, or did it put me in any kind of trepidation to allow my children to go outside and play in their yard. In fact, my oldest son learned how to ride his bike in their parking lot. I urge you.
Point of order?
Yes, I think we're now discussing Article 1, is that correct? Yes. Article 1 allows for fire stations in all zones, correct?
Yes.
I just want to make sure. Okay, I just want to make sure the speaker is speaking to that point.
I believe she was. Continue, Cheryl.
Thank you. They were great neighbors when we had them. So I have only seen the upside of having a public safety facility near a home where I live in, not just for my own personal safety and that of my family, but for the safety and protection of my property and the property of my neighbors. I urge you to vote yes on Article 1. Thank you.
Seeing no one at a microphone. Oh,
I'm at a mic.
Okay, please, microphone on my left, name and address.
I think others are getting up.
Megan,
too.
were you intending to stand up at that moment?
Yeah, yes, to ask a question.
All right, we'll go to questions and then we'll go to no. All right, we'll go in order again. Megan, please.
Hi,
Name and address for everybody.
Yes, Megan McKiernan, 242 Old Harvard Road. I'm wondering, Mr. Moderator, if I could ask the fire chief to speak to the pros and cons of the locations that are still in running for development of a fire station.
I think that's a little stretching the corners a bit here. We're not debating a location for a fire station. We're debating zoning, whether to allow public safety in all zones right now.
Understood.
So, microphone to my left. That's you, Mark. Name and address, just for the record.
Mark Barbador, I move the question now.
It's been moved. Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded that we stop debate to take a vote. So in order to stop debate, we need 2/3 of you to agree with that. All those in favor of stopping debate now, raise your green cards. Cards down. All opposed to stopping debate. That carries by the 2/3 required. All right, we're now going to vote on the motion on the original Article 1 as presented in the warrant and as motioned here tonight. All those in favor of Article 1, raise your green cards.
Point of order, please.
Point of order? What?
Because the numbers were so very, very close, is it possible to announce the numbers as they come in?
No, the numbers will be announced when they're tallied. And at this point, it's most likely I will do the standing count. Anyway, cards are up for all in favor. All right, cards down. Raise your cards if you're opposed. All right, we will do the standing count for the record. And remember, this requires the 2/3. So, our tellers ready? Looks like they are. Well, okay, we'll do it again, similar to last time. All those in favor, stand in place with your green cards to be counted by a teller. Remain in place, don't move around. Okay, thank you. Yes, folks, you may sit down. All those opposed to the motion on Article 1, please stand with your green cards to be visible to the tellers. Please stay still and remain in place to make their jobs a little easier. Thank you. Okay, you may sit down. Thank you. The yes votes are 284. The no votes are 115. The motion on Article 1 passes by a margin of 71.2%. 284, 115. Thank you for your thoughtful discussion on that motion. Motion under Article 2. Ms. Werner.
I move that the town vote to amend Article 5, Section 5.1.2, Dimensional Schedule, footnote 5 of the Town of Boxborough zoning bylaw as set forth in the October 14th, 2025 Fall Town Meeting warrant.
Is there a second? Moved and seconded. Report and recommendation from the Planning Board, please.
The Planning Board voted unanimously to recommend.
Okay, a recommendation from the Finance Committee.
Finance Committee unanimously recommends.
Recommendation from the Fire Station Building Committee.
The Fire Station Building Committee unanimously recommends the proposed zoning bylaw amendment to allow public safety buildings to exceed current size restrictions in the town center district. The existing bylaw limits building size in this area, which prevents us from constructing a modern firehouse that meets the operational needs of our firefighters, emergency responders, and the community. One of the most promising locations for a new firehouse is 700 to 832 Mass Ave, and this falls within the town center district. Without this zoning change, we would lose the opportunity to consider this centrally located and well-suited site. This amendment is narrowly tailored to apply only to public safety buildings, ensuring that flexibility is granted solely for critical community infrastructure.
Recommendation from the Select Board, please.
So this is very similar to Article 1. We need to keep as many sites, possible sites on the table as possible to make sure that we choose the best one. So it's really the same discussion. The Select Board recommends unanimously that this article be approved so that we can keep one of the 4 remaining sites on the table.
Okay, questions or comments from the floor? Seeing no one at a microphone, unless, of course, we have... And
You
we
sound
want
disappointed.
There's also a map for everyone to refer to, I believe, in the package, in the presentation package, Rajan? And, oh, you have a presentation as well, all right. Oh, I'm sorry, I did not follow the script on that. I should have come sooner. Okay, I knew about the map, I didn't know about the presentation. Okay, please proceed. Just name and address for everybody so everybody knows who you are. Yeah. Now it's on? You got to hold it for like 2 seconds.
How about now? Yes, okay, sorry. Took a little while. So this is the town center district. One of the locations being considered is a combination here. So it is in the town center. The current zoning of the town center restricts the total building size of up to 15,000 square feet. And the Fire Station Building Committee, during the May town meeting, the proposals and the draft drawings they had approximately up to 25,000 square feet. That's why we're amending this.
Yeah, a little closer to the mic, please, Chris.
So the draft proposals for a potential fire station that we have at the moment go up to 25,000 square feet. So that's why we're amending it to best, make one of these locations able to actually hold one of the potential buildings. That's it. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward.
Okay, questions or comments from the floor? Name and address for the record, please, Mark.
Mark Barbador, Old Harvard Road. Is the language that we're voting on the screen?
We had the motion up there. We can go back to it.
No.
Yeah, as set forth in the warrant.
Oh, it says as set forth in the warrant. So if it's per the warrant, you have it in your printed warrant in front of you.
It's the bolded text that just says.
Technicality.
Question?
Okay, we'll go to the question. Mike, name and address, please.
Roy Gustafson.
A little closer to the mic for everybody to hear.
Roy Gustafson, 95 Old Orchard Lane. As I understand this is approving this larger size only for that one district. Is that correct?
Correct. Just in town center, just for public safety buildings.
So if we wanted to vote for a location for the fire station somewhere else, we would have to also include this form of motion to allow it.
No, this is just, Chris, I think you know the answer.
So only the town center district is restricted in this way to only allow a building.
You answered my question. Thank you.
Seeing no one at a microphone. This requires 2/3, so all in favor, raise your green card high so I can see them. Okay, Chris has a card up. Cards down, all opposed, raise your green cards. That carries by the 2/3 required. Okay, Article 3. Before I request the motion under Article 3, I want to clarify the intent of Articles 3 and 4. Is that anything we need to respond to, Chief? No. Article 3 and 4 are sense of the meeting articles. Both of these articles are non-binding. This means that regardless of the outcome of the vote on the motions, we will not be authorizing or obligating any action or expenditure. The sense of the meeting discussion and vote is primarily intended to inform the Fire Station Building Committee and the rest of the town about your opinion on the matters presented in those motions. So we can anticipate that any consensus drawn from the discussion and vote will also help to inform the Fire Station Building Committee about how to develop next steps, and those next steps will include articles at a special town meeting scheduled, mark your calendars, for 2 months from now, December 15th and 16th. I also want to alert you to the presence of the Fire Station Building Committee down front here, if you haven't already figured that out. Ms. Brolin, please introduce yourself and the committee for the benefit of the audience, and then you can move on to your motion.
Certainly. I'm Mary Brolin. I'm the chair of the Fire Station Building Committee. Mac, if you want to take the mic and go down and introduce yourselves.
I'm Mac Reed. I'm the vice chair of the committee.
Sarah Lovato, clerk of the Fire Station Building Committee.
Alan Ford, member of the committee.
And then passing the mic up, Fire Chief John Kivlin, who is an ex officio member of our committee. Mike Johns, also an ex officio member of our committee. Priya Sudaram from the Select Board is a member of the committee, and Maria Nealon from the Finance Committee is a member of the committee.
Motion, Ms. Brolin.
Mr. Moderator, I move to see if it is the sense of the meeting to pay up to $6 million more than the base cost to build a new firehouse not located at 72 Stowe Road.
Is there a second? Second. Moved and seconded. Recommendation and presentation from the Fire Station Building Committee, Ms. Brolin.
Okay, if you would pull up the slides. Okay. So I think it has been said tonight that we all understand we need a new firehouse. There are significant physical and occupational safety concerns for our personnel due to inadequate space and facilities to properly clean, decontaminate, and maintain gear and equipment. There's a lack of general security, including unsecured electrical panels, file server, and network equipment, and the building is not compliant with current National Fire Protection Agency regulations and currently recognized safety standards. So I had to send this in earlier this week. Hopefully we now have zoning. We do now have zoning. It allows for a public safety building in all areas in town. We mentioned earlier that we have looked at 19 sites is the number between earlier committees and our current committee. 14 of these sites have been assessed and dropped. The next next two slides have those 14 sites. I'm not going to go through them all, but I can say we have looked all over town for opportunities. There are challenges in our landscape. We have a lot of wetlands. We have a lot of ledge. I affectionately call our town Roxborough. So we looked at these. There's just tight site constraints. To be a modern firehouse, we want to have dual access from the front and the back, because we stack our vehicles and we can't have them stacked 3 back and you have to pull 1 out and 2 out before 3 can go out. So we want dual access. That limits some of the site considerations. So we've continued to look at these, and 14 of the sites were dropped. 4 sites are still under consideration. These sites are 502 Mass Ave, which is our current fire station and across from the Blanchard School. 72 Stowe Road, which I think you all know, just off of Mass Ave and across the intersection from Town Hall. 700 to 832 Mass Ave, which is, if you're going out of town, is on the left near the Family and Friends Vet, and just a little past there is the new DPW facility. And 1300 Mass Ave, which is further down toward the highway and a little past Bravo Pizza. We have been studying these sites extensively and continue to study them, and we are hoping to come to you with a decision at December's town meeting. Please come then. Right now, this is a quick synopsis of the pros and cons of each of these 4 sites. At 502 Mass Ave, one of the benefits is it's an established location and it's already disturbed. It's also town-owned property. However, there are site limitations. It's a small lot for a modern firehouse and to share that property with the current police station. This would affect the design of the building and therefore the fire station operations. There's also cost, time, and challenges related to temporary space, because we would need to move the fire department out for the 1.5 years of build while we built on 502. At 72 Stowe Road, it's a good site for the program layout and will meet program operations. And the purchase supports the Affordable Housing Trust, who finds they can't use the property the way they intended, and so they want to sell that property. However, we have seen tonight that there's opposition from abutters. That's a huge con. There's also an acquisition cost for the property. At 700 to 832 Mass Ave, the site can support a good program layout and meet the operational needs. And the Mass Ave location is favored by some residents. However, at that site, and you know that site if you look when you're driving by, it's already dug up a lot. There are ledge concerns. There's concerns about how much work we'd have to do with the property. There are sightline concerns, and we would have to add a control light on Mass Ave from either side of the entrance to the firehouse. There's also an acquisition cost for 2 parcels, and so we need to negotiate this, but we expect that it would be a higher cost than 72 Stowe Road. And at 1300 Mass Ave, this one had been off the table for a long time because the owner wasn't interested in selling, but since May town meeting, we went back and they said they are interested. It's a 7-acre site, and it looks like it could support a good program layout for operations. And again, the Mass Ave location site is already disturbed, and it's a favored site being on Mass Ave. Some of the cons are that the current wells and septic actually cross other properties. It was designed a long time ago, not sure why that does, or other parcels. So that's a little bit of a con. And then the acquisition cost for the parcel, again, the negotiation is needed, but we expect it would be higher than 72 Stowe Road. So 72 Stowe Road, this is the parcel we recommended at May's town meeting, but it didn't pass. Zoning was a complication. The biggest con for this is that many of the neighbors are not in favor of the location. The biggest pro is that it offers the least expensive option. In our time on this committee, which has been 16 months now, we have held 20 public information events. We started in October of 2024, and we held events in October, December, January of 2025, February, March, and April. And then in June of 2025, we had a table at Pfeiffer's Day. In September, we had 2 forums. Also in September, we took part in the Fall Town Meeting info session at the library, which Alec organized and was fantastic. And we had a Fall Festival information table. So lots of public outreach. But across these, we didn't take attendance, but we observed, and in general, attendance was low. We took time out of our days and often presented to 2 people. Sometimes there would be more. We did in person, we did Zoom, we tried to reach people, and there were times when it was more, but I would estimate across these 20 forums, not including the tables, the Pfeiffer's Day tables and that, but where we're presenting, we had 30 to 40 unique people. So a lot of people have questioned, why are you doing the sense of the meeting? Because we've got hundreds of you in the room right now, and we want to know what you think. This is our opportunity to get input, not just from a larger group, but from the larger group that comes to town meeting and votes. So we have done analyses of the cost of 72 Stowe Road and 502 Mass Ave. 72 Stowe Road is the lowest cost. We presented at town meeting that it's estimated at $31 million to build there. We are going to do our best to reduce that. We understand that's too much for the town. In December, we're going to ask you for design funds, and in that process, we're going to try to design to a lower number. But that was the base cost. 502 Mass Ave had additional site costs as well as the cost of the temporary facilities. So it came in at $6 million more than 72 Stowe Road. For 700 832 Mass Ave, We believe there's going to be additional site costs for the land to do the work on it that needs to be done, as well as the acquisition costs. Again, we need to negotiate that, so I don't know the exact amount, but we're estimating it's $4 to $6 million more than Stowe Road. And 1300 Mass Ave, so that's got a big building on it. It has a higher demolition cost, and the land acquisition cost will be greater there. So we're estimating that differential at $5 to $6 million. This is not a scare tactic. This is truly to get your sense. Do you want to pay more to get this out of the neighborhood? I think that, I didn't say earlier, in all of those public forums, we heard two things that were important: the cost and abutter approval. With the current situation we're in, those conflict. The lowest cost has the biggest abutter disagreement. So we want to know from all of you, are you willing to pay more to get this building project out of 72 Stowe Road and on Mass Ave? Thank you.
And Mary, what is the Fire Station Buildings Committee's recommendation for the record?
For the record, the Fire Station Building Committee recommends this unanimously.
Okay, recommendation from the Finance Committee, please.
The Finance Committee unanimously does not recommend. The Finance Committee unanimously voted not to recommend this article. The Finance Committee concluded that in light of the financial uncertainties with the town and school budgets, spending an additional $6 million on a Mass Ave location is not fiscally responsible, especially if an efficient, cost-effective fire station can be built for less elsewhere, including but not limited to 72 Stowe Road.
Recommendation from the Capital Committee.
The Capital Committee voted unanimously against recommending this article because of the negative effect it may have on other critical items in the capital plan.
Recommendation from the Select Board.
Believe it or not, the Select Board makes no recommendation. We want to hear what you have to say. We'll take all of that into consideration later when we're deliberating, but right now we're here to listen to you, and we hope you stand up and participate.
Okay, questions or comments from the floor? I'll start on my right. Name and address, please.
Dave Follow, 120 Comley. So I was on committee number 2, and I appreciate your referencing some of our work. Let me just talk about 2 things.
A little closer to the mic, Dave.
Oh, sorry. Channing brought up earlier, questions about demographics and so forth. Committee 2 looked at that. I'm sure you guys did. Most of the activities out near 495, and you look at response time and so forth, that was clearly the preferred direction. So I just want people to be aware that that analysis was done, and I see the police fire chief nodding, so yeah. We looked at 1300, and some of what we came up with was not on this presentation, so I just wanted to make sure that I share that. The building as it currently stands does not meet the structural requirement of the code for a public safety building. However, the analysis was that stripping it out and reinforcing it, that code could be brought in to meet that requirement. Part of the building would have to be demolished in order to put in bays for the fire trucks and so forth. There's actually a lot of space in the building, so we looked at, other community things we could put in. It's a large parcel, and we believed it was workable. Will it be more expensive than Stowe? Yes, it will be, but I think that swagging it and saying it's $6 million, I think you need more data to actually do that based on the analysis we did, 8-10 years ago now. I think as a taxpayer in town, what I would like to see is 2 options in the initial flush out, right? If you can get it down to that. So instead of saying, it's about 6 relative, Stowe Road is going to be the low cost solution. That was what we concluded. You guys reached the exact same conclusion. The other site, at least in my personal opinion, based on the analysis we did, because we looked at all the bedrock and everything else, is that 1300 actually had a pretty ideal position, had a very large footprint, and could pick up other things other than public safety just because of the space in the building. So, you know, for what it's worth, my personal opinion is I'd love to see before town meeting a two-position, basically a, you know, ideal solution, more expensive, cheap solution, and let the town figure out which way they want to go with it.
Question, Mike, in the center, please. Name and address.
Jim Moss, Bicentennial Way. I have maybe two questions. One, $6 million of what? So I think if I understood you correctly, the rough, I'm using rough figures now. I'm not asking for dollars and cents, but just a rough ballpark. To build the fire station is going to run roughly about $30 million. Okay? And then if you go to these three other sites, it's going to roughly cost us $6 million more. So if I understand this correctly, it'll be about 116% more if you go to the other sites. Is that correct?
It'd be 20% more.
Yes, 6 million over 30 is not 160.
It's 20%.
Well, my abacus is old, so
Okay, Mary had the number, 20% approximately.
Okay.
So that's the differential.
So it'll be 120%. So you're asking us if we're willing to spend another 20% on top of a base price. That's correct?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Microphone to my left, please. Name and address.
Becky Neville, 317 Middle Road. I don't know if I'm at the right mic, but I wanted to point out that if we go to 72 Stowe Road, the money actually comes back to the town because we're buying it from the housing trust, and then that money would be used to help with affordable housing programs within the town. So yes, we have to buy it. So yes, but it's still less money than anything on Mass Ave except for 502. But it does come back to the town. I just think that needed to be pointed out. Thank you.
Okay. Microphone to my right, please. Name and address for the record. Channing.
Yeah, Channing Wag, 384 Hill Road. I didn't realize that the building committee had looked at so many locations and eliminated a large proportion of them. But I still have the question, since I've seen so many signs and heard so much concern about public safety, how much public safety is $6 million worth, or how much $6 million worth of public safety bias? I still think that it's the location of the equipment that contributes to the effectiveness of its distribution to the fire point, and the actual equipment that gets to that point in a timely fashion are the key decision criteria here. And I have not yet heard any decision based on that particular or those particulars. Maybe it's too late in the process, I don't know. I also don't understand why the consideration is to have all the equipment in one place, which is what I understand is going on. Again, I would reference west of 495, where we have 3-story garden apartments all along Swanson and Codman, and why it does not make sense to have a satellite location with a ladder truck over there. I raise those questions to try to make sure that the town has examined them. If it has in the form of the committee, that's great. I'd be interested in hearing the results of the analysis. This is a tough question. It's taken a lot of time. It may take more time. If we're going to spend $30+ million, we want to get it right, correct? So, and I also don't know exactly what sort of fires we're going to be facing. One of my kids and his family live in California. We're quite sensitive to brush fires. That ain't going to go away, folks. It's going to be with us. So, again, we want to have the equipment in the right place. Thank you.
Okay, I'll go to the question mic in the middle if someone is in line. Name and address, please.
Tom Horsky, 816 Depot Road. My question is, have we done building plans for these 4 proposed sites? And if the answer is no, how can we even guess at what the incremental cost might be for going from one site to another? I just don't see it. What amount of building plans have we done? Anything?
Mary, if you can answer, please do.
Yes. So in previous town meeting, the town voted $500,000 to study and do feasibility studies in town. We looked at earlier parcels and came down to 502 Mass Ave and 72 Stowe Road and had conceptual designs done for both of those and conceptual costs estimated. And it is all conceptual. And the problem is, to do the actual full design, you need the site because you design to a site. So the 72 Stowe Road site was designed and the conceptual estimate was approximately $31 million. 502 Mass Ave was designed and the conceptual estimate was about $37 million. So that's the $6 million differential we're certain of. Our architect team then took the conceptual design from 72 Stowe Road because that was the favored design. And in early phases, we were looking at 750 Mass Ave, and it fit on that parcel. The roadways didn't work well. That's why we've added in the 832 parcel. And so that gives us, when you have a fire station, you want two separate roadways, one for emergency vehicles, one for the public. You don't want those to cross. And this would allow us to have those two separate ways, but the design fits on there. With our owner's project manager and architect, there was a broad estimation that of what the site work, which sites would be more expensive in terms of site work, and they thought the 700 to 832 Mass Ave would be one of the more expensive site work sites. The cost for the acquisition, we have ballparked, but we have not fully negotiated that. But that's where we get that differential. And then for 1300, there has been previous work looked at it, that we shared that with our consultants, and they also ranked that as actually lower in the site design cost, but they estimated the demolition costs, and then we've estimated a ballpark for the site acquisition costs. So that's where that differential comes from.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Microphone to my left, please. Name and address.
Dick Wagman, 86 Leonard Road. Listening to the rationale for this thing sort of focused my attention a bit. I think I could personally, I'm in a situation in life where I think I could probably afford the resultant tax increase from having to spend more to put the fire station on one of the Massachusetts Avenue sites. But $6 million is a significant pile of money, and I was thinking about what the real opportunity cost is for forgoing $6 million for something else. I know one of the things that makes Boxborough so attractive to many people is that we live in a really good school district, and when I think about what we could do for the schools with $6 million, it seems like that might be a more attractive thing for my town to ultimately have than have a fire station that is ultimately perhaps less centrally located and thus would give less good fire response time, say, to fires on the east side of town for at least one of the sites that was listing there. So I sympathize, with the idea of trying to reduce the amount of hassle that you have with the local abutters and stuff like that. But somehow I'm ultimately skeptical of this. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, microphone to my right, please. Name and address.
Andrew Tavalacci, 617 Old Harvard Road. I'm struggling with this sense of the meeting issue because I don't understand how we can talk about the difference between these 4 sites unless we have base costs for each of them individually. You can't use the 30 million as the base cost for Stowe Road for the other 3 properties, because the base cost for the other 3 properties may be lower than 30 million. So then adding the additional 6 million, and depending on what you get for that, may end up being a better deal than at 72 Stowe Road. So to say that 72 Stowe Road is the cheapest option right now, nobody can say that, because we really don't have the numbers by which to reach that conclusion. At the end of the day, the costs may be relatively even between the sites when we do actually have building costs. And the current location is cleared and flat. There is very little development of that land that needs to happen in order to put up a building in that location. Once we figure that out, then we can say, is the $6 million additional worth it on top of that? But we can't really make any judgment right now about the costs, the relative costs of the sites, unless we have the cost to build a building on each of the individual sites. Otherwise, there's nothing we can't just sit around and guess. We have to have those dollars in front of us. Thanks.
Question, Mike in the center, please. Name and address.
John Markowitz, 71 Patch Hill Road. I want to thank the Fire Station Committee for all the hard work they've done.
Yeah, a little closer to the mic, John,
sorry.
please.
I want to thank the Fire Station Committee for all the hard work they've done. I have 3 questions. One of the questions is, my understanding is that you're looking at when you look at Stowe Road and you don't use the existing site will be vacant, and the cost of dealing with that vacant site is not in your estimate for total cost. Is that correct?
Well, when we came to town meeting and had the cost at 31 million, it was in that cost. In the future, we may take it out of there because a lot of people in the community compare the cost of our fire station to other communities' fire stations, and they don't have that cost in there. So it may come forward to the town as a separate warrant article under the purview of the select board. And I don't remember off the top of my head how much it was. I don't know if anyone remembers now, sorry. But it is in the 31 million at this time.
Okay, so it's in the 31, but that will
Correct.
eventually be a cost that the select board will have to deal with. So I'm not going to ask them for their answer tonight because I know they need more time. My second question is...
One question per person per time at the mic. Okay. Thank you. Microphone to my left, please.
Robin Lazaro, 959 Hill Road. This is what you call a Hobson's choice. It's often used to mean an illusion of choice, but it's not a choice between 2 equivalent options. And as a lawyer, I find it kind of like leading the witness here. We're asked for a sense of the meeting. Are we willing to pay up to $6 million more because of all these alternatives cost more than $6 million? You're leading us to 72 Stowe Road because I think that's your preference. And so there are so many other factors to consider. The $6 million, I just don't know where that comes from. To move the fire people for a year and a half, to relocate them, to relocate the equipment. How certain are we with these numbers that that's really what it costs? Have you tried to negotiate with the hotel here to see whether they would house? And, so I'm kind of like $6 million seems like some magic number. It just seems like a coincidence, or is it real? I'm a little skeptical.
Microphone to my right, please. Name and address again.
Mark Barbadoro, Old Harvard Road. Sorry about the voice. I just want to thank you for that presentation, because now I understand why you kept saying up to $6 million. Light dawns on Marblehead. So having said that, I do want to echo a little bit of what Robin had said. because, I mean, it's aptly put up to $6 million because there are questions, right? You took a unnamed estimate from an unnamed community as a comparable that may or may not have ever been built, right? And our context report had a number that was significantly cheaper, even adjusted with large inflation numbers, was much, much cheaper. But it didn't include all of it. I get that. You drew a 4-level fire station with a three-level elevator in it, which doubles the cost of the elevator, and God only knows how much extra was put into the 502. I'm not saying that you did it to be sneaky. I realized I was there watching the evolution of the process, and you can't turn the machine around when you start a certain way. I just wanted to say that. But I think now, having a better understanding that you're saying up to $6 million, so that you won't be called a liar later when it comes up to be $6 million and not $3 million or $4 million. But it's a range of price, and it could well be a lot less. If you shrink the fire station down, I know we're fighting for square inches here, but if you shrink it a little bit, it also will cost less no matter where it goes. So the costs could be a lot less. So to me, vote yes for public safety.
Question mic in the middle, please. Name and address.
Cheryl Mahone, 188 Liberty Square Road. I'm actually going to ask a question about what I perceive as the drivers for this article, Mr. Moderator. There seems to be the significant con for the primary or the most attractive, the committee's most attractive site is 72 Stowe Road. Has the committee gone and looked at public safety facilities that are similarly situated in communities with, as Stowe Road is, you know, on a quieter street, surrounded by houses? Have you guys bothered to do any kind of that research or field trips?
We've done personal field trips. Alan has gone to Acton, Mass, you know where that is? They just built a new one in a residential neighborhood. And I don't know, is Littleton in a residential neighborhood?
Pretty much.
I think it is, yeah. And so people have gone there as well. And we've done a little bit of research. You know, there are questions about whether it decreases your home values. We did not find any evidence that it decreases your home value. There was some suggestion that for the people who now become closer, it actually increases their home value because it decreases their insurance. But we haven't done any committee trips like that.
Thank you.
Microphone to my left, please. Name and address.
Yes, Cindy Markowitz, 99 Meadow Lane. I just want to emphasize that the question asks for whether you are willing to pay up to $6 million, and I think the up to is a pretty important piece of this. You know, when all is said and done, if that number turns out to be $100,000 differential, you know, would you consider perhaps not impacting a neighborhood that has 135 plus or minus abutters? So I think that number really has to be fleshed out. I would encourage the committee to continue to do its work. I am concerned that the base cost that you're referencing at 72 Stowe Road does not include several items which were just unknowns at this point, whether or not there might need to be a traffic light at the town's expense, whether the road needs to be widened, whether sidewalks are going to be in place. Those have not been included in my understanding in the base cost. So the base number may fluctuate, so that $6 million differential might fluctuate. I also do question the $6 million differential between 502 and 72 Stowe Road. 2 million of the 6 million is based on a slightly larger building at 502 Mass Ave. I'm not sure if folks are aware of that, but that cost is based on a 22,000 square foot building versus a 20,800 square foot building at 72. So all the costs per square foot got escalated for the 502 estimate. So 2 million out of the 6 million is because the building is currently showing to be a little bit bigger. The other 4 million has to do with the temporary relocation costs. I think there's been quite a number of questions posed to the committee as to where those estimates came from. We're told it's a comp with one or more other towns. We don't know if that's a city or a town just like Boxborough. We have no idea. So I just question that. Don't assume 6 million is the number. The number could be much smaller, the differential. And I'd just like to reframe the question that this is, again, up to 6 million, and the number could be a lot smaller. So I'm encouraging the committee to bring more than one site once you've done your diligence to give folks the option to really assess that differential. Thank you.
Microphone to my right, please. Name and address.
David Rochelot, 265 Liberty Square Road. How many square feet is the current fire station?
86. 8,600.
So I know we need a bigger facility, but why does it need to more than double?
To meet current codes and safety standards.
What other facilities are going to be at that fire station that are currently not there?
None.
None?
None.
Okay. Just out of reference, I happened to talk to a contractor in the last couple of weeks, building 2 buildings down by the transfer station. And I asked how much those buildings would cost them each. He said $2 million. So I don't understand where you get $30 million for a building that's going to house trucks. Have a living facility for what, 4 people? 30 million is way too much.
Microphone in the middle. Name and address, please. At the question mic.
Elaine Olmsted, Stowe Road. I have a question regarding the additional costs that might come up at 72 Stowe Road. Cindy mentioned some of them, like the possibility of maybe having to widen the road so that the trucks can actually turn onto it, the light at the intersection. But I wondered if any of the cost of Stowe Road, the mitigation factors that might provide more protection to the neighborhood for lighting and noise reduction, what might those costs be?
I don't have those costs delineated, but the mitigation factors were certainly being discussed when they were doing the conceptual estimate. I will note it is a conceptual estimate. We won't know the cost till we design and bid it. However, the conceptual estimate has a contingency for design in case in the detail work you decide, oh, you do need a light, or you do need sidewalks, or to widen the road. And then there's a contingency on the construction costs, and then there's an owner's contingency. So there are contingencies built into all of this.
In the $31 million estimate?
Yes.
Thank you.
Microphone to my left. Name and address, please.
Hi, Jim Camoli, 451 Sargent Road. I just want to understand what's happening in December 15th. So you're going to, based on this state of the meeting, narrow down to one site, and then it's going to be yes or no vote on December 15th, or are there going to be options presented?
So we have work to do. We're coming to town meeting tomorrow night. We're then meeting on Thursday night, and we're meeting the following week because we have to have our articles in by the end of the month. Our hope is we're going to come to you at town meeting with 3 articles. One will be for the design costs, design and bid costs. A second would be to purchase a piece of land, and a third would be to purchase a different piece of land. So I am hoping we can come to you and give you 2 options. And with those, we'll have broad conceptual estimates of what the building would be on each of those plots.
So then what is going to make you, it seems like there's 4 now, and you're going to narrow down to 2 in
Correct.
a couple weeks.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, so then the consideration for 1,300, which we heard earlier, that's kind of not going to be possible in that amount of time.
I don't understand.
Meaning that it's larger parcel and there's other buildings that could be put on there.
Oh, so I didn't respond to them, but we have had our architect and owner's project manager look at that. They do not believe that building is able to be reused. That's why I mentioned the demolition cost. And there are constraints about the site. When you do a water system, there's a state law around what defines a public water system or a private water system. If it's just the fire station, we meet the requirements for a private well system. If we were to put other things there and we exceed 25 people on site 4 days a week for a certain number of hours routinely, it pushes it to a public water system, and the site will not support that well. Because right now I mentioned that there are some oddities about the way it's currently configured, and the well system sits within setbacks, and so it would not be approved that way. So we do not believe we can use it for a purpose other than the fire station.
Okay, thanks. And just one last comment is, you've spent $500,000.
Well, we spent about 400 of it.
400,000 and assessing these sites. So unlike what other people seem to be implying, that you're not just pulling these numbers out of thin air.
We are
Actually,
not.
a significant amount of work has been done to generate those numbers. I thank you for that.
Microphone to my right, please. Name and address.
Nadine Reeder, 101 Wheeler Drive. One of the things I just wanted to say is that anybody that's built a house, added to a house, remodeled a house, you always pay more than you think you're going to pay. So, the estimates, and especially for a big building like that, the estimates could be way off either way. I do think with all the stuff we've been hearing tonight, as the lovely lawyer said over there, I think we've been getting the subliminal message all night. 72 Stowe Road is what you want to do. And this isn't the place, I don't suppose, to, tell my pros and cons for that, but I will say one thing. The last time we had this meeting, I mentioned that you would have to change the whole stoplights, the whole, have lights here and there if a truck was coming out. And I was told, no, you don't need any of that. Well, if you know how narrow that road is, you know you're going to need something. So that's going to be more of a cost. I have no idea what the cost is going to be, but you're not going to get away with having a big fire station there and not do something to that intersection. My grandson had an accident at that intersection. People come around that corner quite fast. So there's going to have to be something that you put there. That's going to be money. Who knows how much that's going to be? I'm just saying that, nobody can say for sure. It might be up to $6 million. It might be more than that if you have to do something with the roadway, widen the roadway. That roadway is so well traveled with walkers, people with dogs. It's just a lovely country road to walk, and they're going to have to jump out of the way. Anyway, I'm not opposed to having something if it faced Mass Ave right in the same spot, but to face that small road and have to redo everything, I think is not the right place for it. Thank you. And I want to thank all of you for doing the work you do on it. I know it's a lot of work. Thank you.
Name and address. Questions, Mike, please.
Steve Jeffries, 286 Sergeant Road. It's more of a financial question. So there's big numbers, 30 million, 36 million. What is the impact to the taxpayers? Ultimately, I think you're going to ask us to pay for us by increasing the property taxes, et cetera. Could somebody please make that concrete for me? What is
he's asking about the financial impact to the taxpayer, and I believe Mary has some numbers, and I'll ask the FinCom to opine as well, but I know Mary had a chart.
Yes, so we have a chart that was calculated, and it's on the Fire Station Building Committee website. We only went up to 30 million, but you can kind of do the math and extrapolate. At $30 million for a home valued at $1 million, the annual tax impact would be $934 a year. That assumes a 4% interest rate paid over 30 years, and the first year it hits the taxes is fiscal year 2028. For a home value of $600,000, the 30 million tax impact would be $560 a year.
Okay, and there's a 20% uplift for the $6 million for the different project, right?
Yeah.
So that first number would be about 100.
This grid shows that for every
$80
$500,000, it's $9 to $10 for the $600,000 home, $9 to $10 a year. For the $1 million home, it's $15 to $16 a year for each $500,000 incremental.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, microphone to my left, please. Name and address.
Becky Neville, Middle Road. I move the question.
It's been moved and seconded that we stop debate and vote now. This is just a vote to stop debate. It takes a 2/3. All in favor of stopping debate, raise your green cards. Cards down. All opposed. That carries by more than the 2/3 required. Okay, we're now voting on the sense of the meeting motion. Is it back up on the screen there? All right, everybody understands what we're voting for. So it's a sense of the meeting. There's nothing binding, and no action will be taken other than the information shared tonight will be considered by the Fire Station Building Committee and the other committees in town. Another point of order?
Yes. I think a lot of people have been confused about...
Yeah, speak at the mic, please, then. Yep. And name and address for the record?
Frank Pallion, 318 Codman Hill Road. I think a number of people have been confused about the wording of this article. It seemed to me that a lot of people who were on the no side were making yes comments and vice versa. Could we just clarify that? My understanding is that a no vote means you do not want to spend the additional $6 million, up to $6 million, could be less.
Correct.
And yes means you are willing
you'd
to
be
spend.
Tolerant and
which means, from what was said earlier, if you have $1 million home, you're voting on whether you're going to be paying an additional $15 or so in taxes over the next.
that was per $500,000.
For $6 million, $500,000 is, let's see, $500,000 for 6 is 12 times 16. So
Okay.
that's 160 plus 32, $192 more on a $1 million home, and we'll just say less on a $600,000 home.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, understood. Okay, that was point of order, clarification of the intent of the question. All those in favor of the sense of the meeting article as shown on the screen, raise your green cards. Cards down. All opposed, raise your green cards.
Wow.
Wow, that's really close.
It's close.
I can't call it from what I saw. We're going to do the standing count on this one. It is sense of the meeting, but let's get a number. Yeah. Yeah. All right, are our tellers ready? All right, stakes are a little lower with this one, but let's get it right anyway. All those in favor, stand in place, raise your green cards, be seen by the tellers. And they'll do the counting. Okay, so I'll get to announcements now to kill the dead time here a little bit. Boxborough's Economic Development Committee is excited to present its first Village for a Day this Saturday, October 18th, rain date October 25th, from 11:30 to 4 p.m. This one-day community event will take place along Mass Ave and at the intersections of Stowe and Middle Roads. The event will transform the area into a walkable village center, complete with temporary sidewalks, crosswalks, and pop-up spaces for businesses, organizations, artists, and artisans. Visit local businesses and organizations, listen to live music, grab some lunch, and chat with your neighbors. Have you heard about Boxborough News? Boxborough News is committed to independent reporting of town news and information. You can read Boxborough News online at boxboroughnews.org. To receive a free weekly newsletter with all of the headlines and links to our stories and notices, visit boxboronews.org/subscribe. Okay, all those yes folks, you can sit down. Back in your chairs. All those opposed, voting no, please stand and be counted by the tellers. Please stand in place, don't move around. The town of Boxborough cordially invites town veterans and residents to attend the 2025 Veterans Day ceremony on Tuesday, November 11th at the Veterans Tribute Memorial at Sargent Memorial Library, 427 Mass Ave. The ceremony begins promptly at 11 a.m., rain or shine. Light refreshments will follow the ceremony. Parking is available at the library parking lot and at the Blanchard Memorial School. If parking at the school, use the bridge walkway to get to the ceremony site. The Veterans Day ceremony recognizes the commitment and dedication of Boxborough's veterans and their families. The town looks forward to honoring all of those who have served in our armed forces. Information about Boxborough's veteran services can be found at boxboroughmass.gov/281/veteran services. Boxborough's Veteran Services Officer, James McRae, has regular office hours at Boxborough Town Hall Tuesdays from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Appointments preferred. Okay, that sense of the meeting fails. The noes had it at 115, the yeses at 109. I'm glad I stopped to take the count. 109 yes, 115 no. The motion fails. Okay, motion under Article 4, please. Ms. Brolin, and this is another sense of the meeting.
Mr. Moderator, I move to see if it is the sense of the meeting that the town explore the design and construction of a new firehouse using high-level green construction standards.
Is there a second? Moved and seconded. Presentation, Ms. Brolin?
Yes. So we're interested in learning if you are in support of the Fire Station Building Committee exploring the design and construction of a new firehouse using green construction standards that exceed current fire station building requirements, recognizing the opportunity to invest approximately $1 million in infrastructure that supports the long-term operational savings, environmental stewardship, and community resilience. These standards would support the health and safety of Boxborough residents and its staff of firefighters and EMTs. It meets or exceeds Massachusetts Building and Fire Code and National Fire Protection Association standards, and it positions Boxborough as a leader in sustainable municipal development. Basic green infrastructure components are already currently required by code. So these basic standards would be in any building we design. It includes efficient windows, efficient heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems, air sealing and high levels of building insulation, efficient lighting and lighting control systems, electrical vehicle chargers, solar photovoltaic infrastructure, and mass save fee for incentives. Green infrastructure components that exceed current code requirements include geothermal HVAC systems, higher performing building components, LEED program, potentially being net zero energy ready, being fossil fuel free, and then the design costs for all of these elements. The high-level green standards are estimated to cost about $1 million above the base cost. And this investment is in line with the town's master plan and Boxborough's designation as a green community under Massachusetts Department of Energy Resources. This includes a commitment to reducing municipal energy consumption by 20% within 5 years and adopting more efficient building energy codes. It also supports long-term operational savings, environmental stewardship, and community resilience. So our sense of the meeting, again, is non-binding, but we want to know from you, are you interested in investing approximately $1 million more for high-level green construction standards? And the Fire Station Building Committee recommends unanimously.
Recommendation from the Finance Committee.
The majority of the Finance Committee recommends and believes that the long-term benefits of green infrastructure will be positive and outweigh the cost. A yes vote will also reaffirm the town's commitment to the green communities.
Minority opinion?
The minority does not recommend. We're approaching a very tight financial year. We think the current standards, the current basic standards are adequate, and we do not think it's responsible to actually spend more money on extending those standards.
Recommendation from the Capital Committee, please.
The Capital Committee recommends unanimously. While the return on investment of this type is not yet known, we anticipate it will result in a positive long-term fiscal benefit to the town.
Recommendation from the Select Board.
So the Select Board also recommends unanimously. We're taking the long look at this one. We're building a 50-year building, and we're on the cusp of major changes in how energy is produced, consumed. We're looking at climate change. We're looking at all kinds of things happening out there. We spend $1 million now to put in, especially, I'm personally very excited about geothermal, producing a building that's potentially net zero, and we don't have to retrofit a building in 20 or 30 years when fossil fuels may or may not be an option anymore. So we feel that this is money very well invested in this building.
Recommendation from the Sustainability Committee.
The Sustainability Committee recommends unanimously. We believe that it is important to explore the feasibility of the green construction options, especially a return on investment associated with green construction that goes above and beyond existing code requirements. Although green construction practices require an initial investment, over the lifetime of the building, this investment is will reliably reduce operating costs, lower greenhouse gas emissions, and provide a healthy indoor environment for first responders and safe environmental conditions for the town. Investing in sustainability upfront will help ensure that this critical public safety facility remains efficient, resilient, and cost-effective over its full life cycle.
Does the Planning Board have a recommendation, Ms. Werner?
The Planning Board does not have a recommendation at this time.
Okay. Questions, comments from the floor? I'm seeing name and address for the record, please, Mark.
Mark from Mark Barbadoro, 627 Old Harvard Road. I'm not so wild about the approach on this article. You're given a number of $1 million, and efficiency can be a range. Just like the other one was up to $6 million, this could maybe be more viewed as up to $1 million. Any amount of efficiency that you do is going to be great. Most of the things, the efficiency components that people get excited about with renewable energy, they are site specific. So if I'm all about the idea of geothermal, well, at 72 Stowe Road, you have an interim wellhead protection area. You're going to have to be putting in your own well, and you're going to be putting in your own surface drainage system, and there's a possibility that you won't be able to put a geothermal well on that site. So take another $1 million off of the rest of them, because they're all probably a lot easier to do. In fact, 502 has no well on it, functioning well on its property. It does have a well, could be used for geothermal perhaps, but there's no groundwater source for the building. They get it from the Hager well. So that opens opportunities for more geothermal at that location. It's also full 180-degree south-facing sun if you look at the water back there. So loving the idea of doing it, be happy to pay for $1 million. It will definitely pay for it, but in Boxborough, we don't build buildings for 50 years. We build them for 75 or 100 and run them into the ground.
Question microphone in the center, please. Name and address again.
Dick Wagman, 86 Leonard Road. I guess this is something of a bit of clarification. You put up a bunch of possible efficiencies that were possible with this, and I just wanted to clarify. You know, you're talking about maybe $1 million. Is it conceivable that you might, for example, to decide that, for instance, only half of those are plausible and end up coming in at 500,000 instead of $1 million or something like that? In other words, is there some flexibility in what you end up deciding will be the appropriate things to do? Maybe you do some, maybe you don't do them all?
Yes, Mark is entirely right that any of these green infrastructure elements are site-specific. So we need to decide on a site to then do the detail work to see what can happen. And so it may be we can't do all of these, but we did frame this as, if we went for all of it, then the owner's project manager estimated that at $1 million cost. So,
thank you.
Okay, back to my right here. Name and address, please, Cheryl.
This is to support the article, Mike. All right?
Technically the yes
microphone. Because we were getting with this.
We don't have anybody here, so
okay.
At this point,
all right.
We can banter all we want from the mics. We don't have a big demand here.
So I support this article. I consider this taping the walls before you paint. I know when the committee took up its original charge, green structures was kind of lower on the list. But with the recent inclusion of the town in the green communities and Mr. Ward's commitment to seeking green possibilities, I think this is definitely a possibility. I also understand that this is an option that the committee would consider studying this. Also, to the point that Kristen made, we have no idea what's going to happen to the availability of fossil fuels in the next 50 years. And I think making a facility that could potentially operate off the grid is a big bonus. And the fact that a lot of the green components also deal with air quality, and we're concerned about air pollution, I think that's significant. We all lived through the ice storm. When our town was the only town in the surrounding areas where we were brought to a complete stop. We had problems because there was no electricity to public safety communication facilities, and that was a big problem. And I know that the stakeholders have worked really hard since the ice storm to eliminate that possibility. But to have a facility where we could generate and continue to provide services during a crisis like that, I think is nothing but a win-win. I understand it's spending money, but I think it's money well spent. Thank you.
Let's see, Gary, were you in line, or Andrew? Do you guys want to? Yeah, Gary's in the official line. All right, name and address for the
Sorry.
record. Please, Gary, you know the drill.
Yeah, Gary Kushner, 158 Flag Hill Road. In my past life, I was a FinCom member, and because of that, I was on the building committee for what's called the Boardwalk Campus, which is the Gates and Douglas replacement. This town heavily supported net zero energy, net zero water. It worked well, and it's meeting its guidelines. So I just want to remind everyone that we've already supported green facilities, not located in our town, but we use it. We have students that go to those schools. So just a heads up that we have supported this kind of thing in the past, and it works. Thank you.
Okay, microphone to my left. Name and address, please.
Mr. Moderator, Becky Neville, I move the question.
Moved and seconded to move the question, to stop debate, and to vote. All those in favor of stopping debate now, raise your green cards. Cards down. All opposed? That carries by the 2/3 required. Okay, we're now voting on the motion, sense of the meeting motion on Article 4. All those in favor, raise your green cards. All those opposed, raise your green cards. That carries by a majority. Ms. Hilberg, seeing that the time is very close to 10, I would entertain a motion.
At 9:58, absolutely. I move the October 14th, 2025 Fall Town Meeting be adjourned until 7 p.m. tomorrow evening, right here in the Boxborough Regency.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Seeing no one at a microphone, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? That carries. We'll see you tomorrow night for Article 5. Well done, everyone. Thanks for your time and attention.